Hello and welcome back to Code Weaver Plays Games. So we're going to go right back into some Kerbal Space Ponies, or Kerbal Space Program as most of you will probably know it as, and let's just get right on with this. So I have got my audio all figured out. I double checked my audio on my own stream, so that's pretty good. I'm going to switch back to my other headphones, and we're going to switch right on over to here, where we should already have Kerbal Space Program up and running. All right, so when last we left our Ponies and Kerbals, our joint mission, we had an orbiter, lander that we had basically just landed and gotten off the surface and took a nice photo opportunity while we were down there. We had a whole bunch of science operations there that we could have or science instruments that we could have used down there. I didn't. This was mainly about exploring, landing, and taking off again. It's not part of my normal career mode. So I went down, did a photo opportunity with some of our members, and got them back up just by the hairy skin of our teeth, as it were. I did not have enough fuel on board the Phobos 1, and we can actually go there and take a look. Here we are. We have Valentina Kerman, Pinkie Pie, and Twilight Sparkle, who went down to explore a little bit on the surface, mostly just to actually walk around and do the photo opportunity, and then take off again. You notice we have no fuel. Absolutely none. But we did have some monopropellant, and we just managed to fail to get into orbit, and the monopropellant covered the gap. So that was a bit of a Hail Mary, and it does mean I have to redesign this, maybe to have more thrust or more fuel or something to give us a little bit more leeway. I don't like it being that close by any stretch. And so we have to come and pick these guys up. Unfortunately, when I took off, I gave it an orbital altitude which was not commensurate with, or not planar with the one that my other ship landed or dropped these guys off with. That's a bit of a problem. Yeah. Because the orbits are quite dissimilar to each other, and that means that we have a fair bit of an orbital inclination change to make, and we can't do it with this craft, so... Right, no, that's not what I want to do. I'm going to go to... Can I just switch ships while I'm here? I should be able to with some effort. There we go. Now, this is our ferry. This is the thing that actually carried the entire crew. You can see that Rainbow Dash, Bill Kerman, and Bob Kerman are on board the ferry. This one has plenty of fuel tied to its nuclear engines, enough to be able to do the orbital change, to be able to get to the other craft. That does mean, because we're almost entirely out of fuel on the other craft, most of our maneuvering is going to have to be done with this guy. Let's get on with it. We have to do a rescue mission effectively. Fortunately, it's not a rescue mission down to the surface because this craft couldn't make it. Alright, so how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to select Phobos 1 as our target, and that means that all of our measurements for us are relative to it. We also note, we're not going to try to do an intercept right now because that's just not very realistic, but we do note that we are actually at about the same distance, which is actually a problem because it means that we both have the same period, which means that we will never get closer to one another on average than we do now. It's just not going to happen. And in fact, seeing what you see here, good heavens, our two orbits are nearly opposite to one another. It really couldn't be any worse. So there's a couple of things we have to do simultaneously. Well, maybe not simultaneously. We'll see. What we have to do is we have to fix our inclination of 30 degrees difference between our two craft. And so right at the point of descending or ascending node, we can do a burn. And so the way we fix this is by essentially going up or down to tilt our orbit, and you can actually see there's my orbit coming up. So just doing a tilt, well, it's not actually just doing a tilt. In the process of doing this, it's also incidentally raising our apoapsis, and that's raising it just a little further than I really want. So I'm going to shrink that down. And so we're going to do a little bit of a balancing act here to simultaneously raise our apoapsis. Like, we'll leave it a little bit high, but we also want to make sure that we got good tilt going on here. So shrink that back down quite a bit. 133. Now the other ship is at a distance of, oh good heavens, it's at a distance of, or an altitude of 55 kilometers, right? So what we want is we want an apoapsis whose apoapsis that's at anything above 50, 100 would be fine. Like that, that's fine. But we also want to make absolutely sure that our tilt gives us a descending node of 0 degrees. Ascending node is 2 degrees, 1.5. You can see that the ascending node kind of slides away from us as we get closer to 0. Sort of what we expect. Negative 0.2. It's kind of the wrong direction. Oh, it isn't the wrong direction. All right. Yeah, I may have accidentally slipped this out of place when I was fettling. There it is. There, you see that sudden instantaneous flip of the ascending and descending node. That means that it's sort of, the position of that crossover is shifting around relative to us. Means that we're right on the cusp when it's that jittery. So we actually got it down to 0 degrees. So we got it to 0 degrees plus. We also end up, as a result of this, with a... the apoapsis and periapsis, that's unfortunate. It's only at 67, so let's tweak that a bit. Because I do want to be in a different orbit, and the reason why is I want a different orbital period for our two craft. That's kind of critical. There it is, descending node of 0 degrees. That'll do it, an apoapsis of 107. So we are going to be doing both at the same time with a single burn, which is pretty efficient. It's the equivalent in orbital dynamics, sort of going across the diagonal of a triangle instead of going across the base and then separately up the far wall. Just a little bit more efficient. So let's get ourselves aligned with the maneuver. Oh, great, I got spam bots in my channel. Oh well, that happens. We're also going to get rid of the ascent guidance because we don't need that. Alright. Let's get ourselves, let's get this orbital change made. Now we have 8,000 meters per second delta V available to us. We only need 479 to do this change. We are going to need a burn time of 13 minutes though. Now that probably means that when we get into the right position to do this, we're going to be quite a ways back and quite a ways forward. And when you have to, because these aren't strong engines, when you do a long burn like this over a lot of curvature in orbit, it probably means your total maneuver isn't going to work out all that well. We may have to do this more than once, but let's give it a go anyway. We don't have a lot of time going on here, so we need exactly 7.5 minutes. So let's give this a go at 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, hello. Yeah, so check this out. We're doing the burn all the way back here, and that's because we're slinging our butts around this planet really, really fast. But actually, that should have been 6 and no, it should have been 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes. So this is really not a great burn. I'm actually going to stop this burn, and I'm going to do a warp here, and I'm going to do a shorter burn. So our node is in 1 minute. So we're going to do a 2-minute burn, and then we're going to readdress this when we come back around. Doing a long burn like that over such a big curvature is not going to result in a pleasing result. It's probably going to drive the apoapsis into the ground. I couldn't prove that to you by the math. Well, to be honest, the direction that we would have been thrusting wouldn't have been all that different. You know what? Let's actually prove it to myself. So we're just going to do a quick save, or quick load here. Because... oh God, how far back did we go? Oh, we went all the way back to when we did the... we went all the way back to when we were just about to deorbit because I didn't quick save. I wonder if there's a quick save file here that I can load. Don't think it's this one, but let's give it a go anyway. Nope, that's the normal one. Let's see if we can... I may have screwed this up. Nope. Let's not screw this up any further. I forgot to quick save or do any permanent save just after I'd come back up from the surface, but unfortunately the restore the game setting isn't obviously in this list. The only thing else I could try... No, it's not worth doing. I could screw this up really, really badly. So let's not. Let's go back to this quick save. All right. Well. Well. That puts me in an interesting position. What do I do to pretend that I didn't screw this up? I can't really. So what I'm going to do, here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to take my my ponies back down again, my ponies and Kerbals back down again to the surface, and then come back up. The actual fact that I ran out of fuel and did it on monopropellant, which you can see at the tail end of my last video in this Sandbox series, shows that I did that. That's under record. I'm not going to try to recreate that because I don't think I could get the exact circumstances, and I don't want to trap any pony here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncouple this. Hang on. Switch back over. All right, so what I'm going to do, and I'm going to reactivate this engine. So here we go. We're going to activate the engine. Oh. Isn't that interesting? I might have had more fuel available to me than I thought. So hang on. Here's the thing. Just gonna redock. Come on. Come on. You do actually have to couple these in a pretty straightforward direct line. They do have magnetic couplers though, so if you leave them floating around long enough, they'll eventually... A little bit of a rotational nudge here. Oh, for heaven's sake. Well, it's a comedy of errors. But you know what? I am not going to let this deter me, and I'm not going to restart the stream, especially because I seem to have a couple of people who have joined in this stream. Hey, how you doing? Come say hi if you like. All right. So, I realized just now the reason why I probably didn't have enough fuel to get back up. Now, this is still a little bit hairy edge. I think I'd like that lander to be built with a little bit more spare fuel available, and that'll take some experimentation. But I do know it can get down and back. But the thing is, take a look at this. I actually had less liquid fuel in there than I thought I did. Fortunately, I designed the ferry to have backup fuel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, give unto me all of your fuel. It's exactly what the spare fuel here is for. Now I have enough fuel to be able to get down and back. All right, so you know what we're going to do? Checking out the save file thing that I have, the return home. I called it 005B. This might be actually where I saved it. Oh, okay. Do I risk reloading that? All right. Save game. 005C. Actually, Duna pre-landing. But now I'm going to go and see if I actually did do a sane thing and actually save this properly. I'd like to continue on where I left off. Ooh, this is promising. There it is! Yes! I figured out where my save game was. Okay, so we're going to continue from here. We don't have to do any weird jiggery pokery. We're back in business. Huzzah! Alright, so retract the ladder. Retract the ladder because that looks goofy. And I gotta fix that ladder when I get back. Don't let anybody let me forget to fix making sure you can get back into this thing from the outside. Alright. We're back in business. We're switching over to the only other craft that we have, which is the Duna, because this is the one that is the one we want to fly, because the lander module, as I said at the beginning of the stream, has no fuel in it. We barely got into orbit just by having the RCS thrusters. So we're going to get this one over to, this is our ferry craft. We're going to get our ferry craft over to our other craft. Boy, that was completely pointless bit of jiggery pokery. We're on the Duna. We want to rendezvous with the lander, which is the Phobos 1B. So set that as the target. We've got to adjust our orbital inclination, which we have plenty of fuel for. We're going to... boy, I wish MechJeb were working properly, because I would probably, for the sake of speed, get it to do this for me. But there we go. Add a maneuver. Let's get on this because we don't have a lot of time. Let's fix that orbital inclination, but also at the same time reduce the apoapsis. So the apoapsis is way too high. So we're gonna 189, 177. Get that down to about 100. Way lower than that, please. That'll do. Again, minor correction to the orbital inclination, and the idea here is to get that... God, I wish the ship wasn't passing right through there at the same time I'm trying to do this. The ascending node is 1.4 degrees, and actually we can see this here, 1.5 degrees, and actually monitor it in real time. It's easier to see here. Would be easier to see here. Why can I not see it? It's 2.2 degrees, 2.9 degrees. The heck? I'm not going at warp speed. It's just that we're super close to the super close to the planet, so that everything is moving around. I don't understand why the maneuver node's phase angle, the angle between Duna 1B and Phobos 1. Oh, that's the real-time phase angle, but that's not the maneuver? Oh, that's really irritating, because what I want to do is fix this 1.7 degree... it's 1.4 degrees. It is coming down. That should be pretty close. can actually see the ascending node flip-flopping a bit. There's close enough to 0 degrees. Node is in 18 minutes. Burn time is in 12 minutes. Let's do this thing. Did that give my... And my apoapsis is in 75 degrees. That's not great, but that's not bad. I can live with that. I prefer it to have been 100, but whatever. So, node in 7 minutes. We need 12 minutes, 51 seconds, which means we want to split it across the node, which means we need it at 7 minutes. We need to start now. Effectively, we need to start now, and we'll fix it up at the other side. Except we're not pointing. We're not pointing at the maneuver node. So I'm a moron. All right, here we go. Close enough. We need to do most of this burn now and do a corrective burn on the other side. Oh, that was more stressful than it needed to be, if I'm honest. All right, we're going to set an alarm, and the reason I'm going to set an alarm is because I don't want to miss this, and I got to come back in about, say, 10 minutes and 45 seconds. So 10 minutes, 45 seconds, pause when I get there, add the alarm, and there we go. Now we cannot possibly miss it. If any of you are watching this post-stream, go watch the first one. It was far more organized. It'd be slower, but far more organized. This is the second one in this particular Sandbox series, and boy, has it not gone well for reasons of not exciting explodiness, but mostly just file management issues. I mean, now critically, what I want to make sure of is that my apoapsis doesn't end up descending too far. And it seems to actually be getting better rather than worse. I just don't want to fall into the planet while I'm trying to correct my orbit, because this is a flipping long burn. But watching a descending node... seems to be working all right. I suppose I really should just restart the stream, right? But whatever. If I did that for every time I ever made a mistake in Kerbal Space Program, I'd be forever resetting the stream. This was just not a great start. Doo-doo-doo. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to... I wonder if actually the other craft has a fairly circular orbit or not. I should check to see what the difference is between its apoapsis and periapsis. If it's not sufficiently circular, I may fix that before I try to rendezvous. All I knew when I finally did the ascent was that it was sufficiently circular not to plunge me into the planet. Now, of course, what you can see now is now that I'm on the underside of the plane, yes, bleeding close. Now that I'm on the underside of the plane, it's clear that I'm not going to ever match up with the plane. And this is, again, a result of doing a very, very long burn to try to correct it. Actually, I suppose, technically speaking, no finite but non-zero burn length is ever going to be able to perfectly correct an orbital change, but at least not with the skills that I have. Let's just put it that way. So I'm just going to cut it off there because I'm going to have to do this all over again to try to make this just a little bit better. So there's the descending node. I corrected most of it, but let's just correct for the rest of it here. 0.1 degrees, 0.3, somewhere between 0.0 and 0.1. So let's see if we can fettle with this crossover point. Come on. Darn it, grabbed the node. Didn't want to grab sorry, I grabbed one of the node handles. I didn't want to adjust its parameters. I just wanted to slide it around in time, so that did not work nearly as well as I had hoped. The heck am I doing? Come on, let's try to do this properly. Come on. Having a day of it, apparently. I did used to do this at one point without having the convenience of the maneuver nodes. There we go. About 0.0 degrees, that'll do. The ascending node, no, not the ascending node, the apoapsis of this ends up being 61 kilometers, which is not far enough. I'm going to be a little bit further away. 70, let's actually raise that by a bit. That's about 100. Descending node, however, is minus 0.1. Come on. Right between those two somewhere. There we go. So I fettled a slightly better, save now, save often. Slightly better bit of timing here. I could have done it at the descending node on the other side. I didn't, so I'm going to give this a full orbit. Okay. I'm going to need 30... brain not functioning. It'll be 45 seconds. So what is that? That's 60 and 48 is 108. 108 divided by 2 is 54. 54 seconds to do this burn. Let's get on maneuver node this time. Accelerate time a little bit. All right, and here we go. Once again, let's do creating an alarm for no minutes and actually 1 minute 30. Pause when I get there, add alarm. There we go. I'm starting to get better at that. Just as a safety measure so that I don't screw that up. But also go and accelerate time so that none of you are quite as bored. Okay, here we go. So the ascending node is still not going to be, well, actually it's really close to 0. That was actually pretty good. That's actually really quite good. All right, I'll take that. Close enough anyway. So now at apoapsis, I can, oh, come on. At apoapsis, I can add a maneuver. And let's just circularize this orbit. Right. Way less quick in the adjustments there, please. Right about there is where it flips over. Checking the orbital intent. See, what I want is I want the maneuver, but I want it to tell me not intersection information, but I actually want it to tell me advanced orbital info. Oh, there it is. That's actually what I want. Okay. I'll take it. This will actually help me adjust it to get it really, really close to circular, which is there, let's say. All right. Save now, save often. Let's get on the maneuver node before I even leave this side of the planet. So there we go. A little bit of acceleration to get that on board. Time warp to the next section. Okay. Getting back into the groove. We are getting back into the groove. All right, so we're just about to approach the maneuver node. We have a 35-second burn time. That means we need 35 seconds divided by 2. It's about 17 and a half. So let's just accelerate up to 17. Oh, good enough. Physics time warp to get that accelerated appropriately. All right, getting closer. And that should be pretty good. That is, in fact, pretty circular. Okay, so now we've got 0 orbital inclination. We've got a circular orbit that is outside of the other ship's, hopefully, circular orbit. Let's actually double check that, which should mean going to Phobos 1. Switch to Phobos 1. And let's check out its orbital characteristics. Now we've got to be super, super careful not to burn a lot of fuel here because we only have our monopropellant left. But let's just go check out our orbital information here. We have 55922 and 54062. So we're going to make a minor tweak here by seeing if we can't get these just a little bit closer. That is totally not what I wanted to do. Oh, that is just terrible. All right. I'm going to have to do this on this block. I got to start using this more often. So here we go. Oops, come on. Figure it out. That'll do nicely. 0.8 meters per second. But we don't, it says we don't have any fuel, but that's not actually true. But the problem is I don't know what my actual burn time is going to be on this because it doesn't consider monopropellant to be a rocket in the traditional sense. So I'm going to give us a T-minus 9-minute overlap here. We're going to warp here. Actually, we're going to get quite a bit closer, I think. T-minus 50 seconds. Warp here. All right. Let's see if we can do this. We're going to align with the maneuver node. God, gotta stop using RCS fuel for rotation. Really, really bad. All right. Right, 0.7 meters per second. Here we go. Oh yeah, check that out. Our RCS can enable us to fix this. That's more than enough. Gotta be really careful about using too much RCS fuel, but that circularized our orbit quite nicely. Now, this is probably overkill, but I also know that I don't want to be having to fight with non-circular orbits when I'm this close to running out of fuel, if I can avoid it. Of course, that does mean burning fuel, which is kind of a contradiction, right? I only know that when I have non-circular orbits that I tend to spend a lot of time fiddling with the intercepts. So let's see if I can do this in one go here without causing too many bits of grief. So we're now back in the Duna 1 craft. We're going to set our target to be... So we got our target set. Right. So somewhere along our path, we're going to want to set a node. So we're going to add a maneuver. We're going to shrink our orbit until we get the little intercept markers. Now you can see we got a pair of them because we got a split crossing twice. We only want to cross once, but we want to cross once just barely. So there it is. But the distance at closest approach is still way too far, and we're not going to be able to close that gap in one orbit. So I'm going to have to go to the next orbit as not completely unpredictable. So there's that one. There's that one. So there are the two markers, and now they're close enough that a little bit of a shift, and that was just by changing the number of orbits I have to do. Now, by changing a shift in time, I'd be able to find out where they cross over, and they cross over there. And looking at the real-time intercept point, approach info, 1.72 kilometers. So now let's see if we can shore that up a little bit. 259 meters. Sorry, 259. Really? 259 kilometers? No. Intersect point, 0.3 kilometers. Oh yeah, 259 meters, 0.3 kilometers. I thought that was a comma, not a period, because boy, are my eyes getting bad as I get old. So there we go. That's actually super, super close. And that's partly as a result of a little bit of luck, plus also having those circular orbits I talked about. So this is where we're going to save that so that we still have that locked in. We're going to get set up for our maneuver node. Now, we're going to have to do a 36-second burn time to achieve this. That probably means we're going to have to do a similar burn time on the other end to slow down, and that has me a little worried, if I'm honest. But here we go. Time warping into the future. All right. So we have to be about that kind of spatial distance before we impact the other ship in order to... Well, okay, so hang on. No, that's not true. Burn time is 36 seconds. Half of that is 18. So we're going to do a burn of 18 seconds on either side of the node. All right. Here we go. And we're coming up on... All right, so we're getting pretty close here. Alright, so let's get rid of this and see how close that we got. We got to... Wow. We're almost literally going to smack into the thing, so we're going to have to be careful. Really super careful. So save now, save often. We're going to be super careful when we get there, because what we need to be is about 18 seconds back. No, that's not what we want. We want... So if we set up another marker here, does it report? No. I really wish I could say, pick me a spot that's 18 seconds before I get to the actual, like some arbitrary marker that I put in. That'd be nice, but okay. All right. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get to about here. Now, keeping in mind, what we really want to do with our target is we don't want to go anti-target. We want to go, at least not initially, we want to go retrograde. We just want to bleed off speed because that's retrograde relative to our target. Target's velocity, specifically. All right. So at about, say, T minus 20 seconds, I want to start this burn. Just at a guess, it's going to be a similar burn to slow me down. It's actually going to be a little bit longer, I think, but... Yeah, I did it at 20 seconds. I could have worked it out by finding out how much thrust was being applied and figure out the mass that I currently have left and all of that stuff, but... Seat of the pants. Ooh, we are getting really close. And there it is too, right? This will be one of the smoothest. Come on. Wow. Save now. Oh, heck yes. Okay. One of the best approaches that I've had since I started streaming Kerbal, to be perfectly honest. Since I started streaming KSP. So, okay. Let's turn to positive target. Switch over to the other craft. Take you to go positive target 2. I'm actually glad it actually runs the control computers on both crafts simultaneously, because otherwise that could have just kept spinning. But this is actually really, really nice. So we're going to set that as the target, the docking port. So pro target there. I don't have any power in the mains. That's fine. I've got enough. I think I've got enough fuel in my RCS left. Oh yeah, we got enough. I don't want to get too cocky about that, but all right. So we got our forward velocity vector showing up too. So I do a little bit of sideways motion to get ourselves lined up nicely, and let's just speed this right along. Because I do have a little fuel to spare, so I'm not feeling too bad about that. Oh, this feels good. This feels really good to be able to get everyone back together. Oh, that was... Did a sideways dodge with my RCS instead of slowing down. But I managed to impact in a way that everybody, all the ships bonded nicely, so... Let's get all the ship's lights off, although we don't technically need to because we got lots of power. Actually, let's leave them on, it's prettier. Alright. Now a little bit of maintenance. So, okay, so what have we got here? We've got a couple of parachutes we're going to want to clean up, and why don't we do that here? So, Dash, you haven't had a whole lot of action today, so let's get you out. No, except that, grab that board. I think we're going to have to get, I think it's the engineer has to go out in order to be able to, all right, Bill, you know what, you haven't done anything this trip specifically, so let's get you out. And let's RCS thrusters, please. Thank you. Brain not functioning. Try to remember all the controls, please. All right. See if we can't do this. So, repack, repack, repack. Can we reach this one? Repack. Okay, so that's all sorted. So let's... No, we're going to go forward, and then we're going to turn around. All right. See if we can reach all these. Should be able to repack. Repack. Come on. Repack and repack. So all of our ship, all of us are ship shape here. We've gotten that all put back together. And grab and board. All right. So we're all repacked. Now, I don't technically need to transfer fuel to this guy because we're not going to be using its fuel. Well, actually I do because I want to actually take this down. Now, one of the nice things about this paired ship design like this is technically I could actually say send the fuel orbiter up and bring down a few ponies and Kerbals. Actually, no, because I don't have that manned, so I do have to take this down. What that implies, though, is I have to refuel this because it is legitimately out of fuel. So what we're going to do is we're going to, let's see if we can do this all in one go. I'm going to select all of these. Plus all of these, except not that one yet. Actually, yeah, we're going to do... All right, let's see, out, no, stop, yeah, out for this and out for this. So we're going to make sure that our target ship is fairly balanced in its, in what fuel is in what tank. We have to do a little rebalancing on the main craft, but that's all right. And let's speed up time because we don't want to wait around for that forever. All right. Let's do this one next. Actually, now that I come to think of it, what I'm really going to want on the other end isn't full tanks on that craft. I want just enough fuel on there to do the landing so I don't have to bring up quite as much to this main craft. Oh well, we'll sort that out at the other end. Call this a practice run for fuel transfer. Oh, I should have... Oh, that was dumb. Okay. All right. That was actually exceptionally dumb because what I did was actually transferred fuel between these two tanks. All right. All right. Let's try this again. All right. So we've got none there, but quite a pile in these two. All right, how am I gonna do this? Let's get all of the oxygen in one place. Okay, we can't, that's full. We can't, that's full. All right, oxidizer here. that can actually, but full oxidizer there. So I need to get about 612 fuel out of here. Yeah, this is why balancing this is kind of annoying. Close enough. It needs to be a way to rebalance it more smooth, more evenly. Like that should have been part of the interface. It's like I need this one to be extracted from, or this one to be split between these other two tanks, or rebalance all three of these tanks, or whatever. I know there are plugins for that. There are mods for that. There's a fuel rebalancer. There was at one point, and it's like, why wasn't this part of the standard design? Because this is exactly what you would want to do. Oh well, doesn't matter. All right, so no liquid fuel there. No liquid fuel there. All the liquid fuel is in the center one, plus a whole pile of extra oxidizer. And that one, oh, hello. We could actually unload some of our liquid fuel into these tanks, but we're going to want to undo that actually later on anyway. So, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to at least make sure all of these are balanced. To do it all. Oh well. It's the best way to rebalance these now. Probably by dumping fuel out of the central tank and into the other four. That's looking pretty balanced. All right. Well, that's where we currently stand. Time to go home. So, the question is, we are now in a pretty good circular orbit around Duna. Let's just double check that. 55.99 something, 55.494. That's close enough. The question is it close enough for the maneuver node tool to cannot calculate transfer when vessel's orbital inclination is too high? Yeah, this is where it was really nice to have MechJeb properly functioning. Hopefully they'll issue an update soon because it could do a much better job at return flights regarding orbital inclinations that were not necessarily perfectly circular, and more importantly, not necessarily aligned on the orbital inclination. I understand why you would make that restriction because it would probably make the math a million times easier, but what do you do? So what we're going to do is we're going to say to heck with, well, it's not necessarily going to be that much easier to change the orbital inclination after we leave here and go out into space, but this is what I would have done if I didn't have a magical orbital planner on me. What I would probably do is I would simultaneously circularize and leave the orbit. Yeah. Yeah, the irony is, in order to make this work, I'm gonna have to. I don't want to be going and shooting up out of the plane of this planet, because that means I'm going to be effectively shooting up and out of the orbit of the solar system anyway, and then it's going to take a lot longer to fix. Like, there's only a certain number. The two nodes where that's easiest. The only place that that's possible to fix is at the ascending and descending node of the entire solar system, like my big Duna-sized planetary orbit. Much easier to fix it here in terms of time. Don't know what it is in terms of fuel, but let's just fix this. So at the ascending and descending node, let's see if we can't flatten it out. Now, we don't have a target. We kind of do. If I actually set Ike as my target, even though I'm not going there, I know that it's in the plane of the system, which is a convenient and handy. No, that's not really what I want, is it? Because that ascending and descending node. Oh, there it is. All right. There we go. That's what I want. Let us fix this. Let us not fix this with that. Let's fix that with this. There we go. To 1.4. 0.04. Actually, let's go over to here. It's the inclination is 0.5 degrees. Really want to go out that far. I actually want to maintain a mostly circular orbit. Kind of made this way more complicated than it needs to be. Oh, but we're close. We are close. 0 degrees, 47. That's needs to be higher than that, and it should be higher than that too. So $55 kilometers. There we go. I think that'll do. So we have a target descending and ascending node of 0 degrees, which flattens out the thing into the planetary plane, or at least the the planetary plane here, but not the whole solar plane. But they happen to be coincident in this case, and that gets our apoapsis about right. So we're gonna call that good. So we're burning a lot of fuel just doing orbital inclination changes. But what do you do, right? That, except the node's in 1 minute, and I have to do an 18-minute burn time. So we have screwed this up. So what we're going to do is we're going to target this and say, can we not go into the future, please? Apparently not. Not fond of that interface. I would have liked to have said, there we go, let's just pop it into the future. And because it's 1 orbit later, it should not have affected things very much. So let's give it another go. We're going to need a 7 minute and 35 second burn time. 40-second burn time. Oh, God, no. No. Cut the engines. I'm a moron again. I need to be on maneuver node. I should have done this beforehand because the problem with this is I am now super hard to turn again. Alright. I screwed that up. But not significantly enough to make a difference. There we go. Alright. Create alarm. 15 minutes. Pause and add. There we go. And then physics accelerate, because nobody wants to sit around waiting for this. Whoa! Whoa, something went horribly wrong, probably related to bendiness again. That's fantastic. Really don't like that. It's the one thing KSP never really got right. It's just, there's just no justification for this. I mean, I guess maybe if you wanted to on purpose have soft joints for those docking rings, I would have preferred a hard joint alternative, but I rambled about that last time. So, all right. So we're going to do a 10-minute burn. Actually, no, we're going to do a 5-minute burn at half power. So, sure. There we go. I think we're good on that front. Let's try. Nope. Maybe it's not the speed that we're after. Maybe the problem is that the high physics time warp is just, yeah, the high physics time warp is playing messy business with the joint mechanics in this game. Oh well, the Kraken rears its ugly head. Thankfully, it's not causing my ship to explode, because that would be rude. See how much thrust we can get up to before it starts getting a little wiggy. Alright, well, apparently we're going to be doing a bunch of slow burns today, in the sense that I can't use physics time warp to make this go any faster. Great. Do. Why is our meters per second going up instead of down? I have lost the plot here somehow. Okay. I have no idea what it's doing. Let's add another maneuver. Alright, so that's going to need a 16-second burn time. Let's get on maneuver. But we're only going to be able to do a minute at a time. So let's see. Why are my meters per second going up? I am not understanding why it's doing this. Anybody else see the problem here? How about if we shut down the engine that's actually actively fighting us? Jeez. Alright, what do we got in terms of liquid fuel? We've got plenty left, so we didn't waste a lot. Okay! All of you are fired for not reminding me to turn that other engine off. All of you, totally fired. Okay, how fast can we get the time warp going? It turns out we get the time warp going the entire way once we're nice and stable. Yeah, go away, alarm. And we don't have two engines fighting against one another. A loser. Alright. That's alright. However, what that does mean, I think, is I'm going to kill this maneuver node. Let that keep thrusting for a little bit while I sort out another maneuver node over on the other side here. Alright. Never mind. Turn that off. Let's add a maneuver. Let's get this sorted. So, sure, fine. Altitude's about fine. Let's get the ascending and descending nodes set up to be about 0 degrees. 0.4. 0.4 positive. Something like that. Let's do something like that. Let's just advance to the next node. I am a moron. Alright. So we need to be at the 7-minute and 15-second mark. So let's just pop on ahead here. There we go. Oh, yep. Maneuver node. Gotta get to maneuver node. And we're using a bunch of RCS to get there because I'm gonna have a lot of fuel to replenish when I get back home. Alright, good enough. Apply main thrust. Don't want to go above physics 2 until it settles down a little bit and it's wobbling. Alright, physics warp 3. Physics warp 4. Okay. We're okay. Alright. 13 minutes, and so we're going to go for 12 minutes and 30 seconds. Pause when I get there, add an alarm, go. Except we are getting a little on the wobbly side, so we're going to take the time warp down a little bit. Dash is looking pretty pleased with herself. As is Twilight, apparently. Yay, Twi. I've never seen Pinky sit that still in forever. You go, Valentina. You did a great landing. And a great launch. Wouldn't have been able to get back up into space without you, Valentina. Alright, let's see how much the orbital plane has been changed. It's doing okay. Okay, let's try to bump up the physics warp. Now that we've got things nice and straight. And we've lost at least some of the oscillation. Nope, we're starting to see the wobble again. The good news is we do have plenty of fuel. Barring a collision with something, it would be pretty hard for me not to eventually make it back to Kerbal space. Knock on wood. I can't believe it just said that. Too funny. So that's interesting. Just taking a look at this, how this works visually. When I set a node upon the ascending or descending node, and then try to change the orbital inclination by that halfway point, I'm always going to have the other half of my orbital inclination change occur after that point. Which means a good amount of the orbital inclination change is going to occur when I'm below the let's just kill that now. Below the plane that I'm trying to achieve. But that means the crossover point is going to be behind me, but it's going to get further and further behind me as I continue to try to twist the plane out of the way, until the worst case scenario is when I finally do finally get to a point in my orbit where it's already flat relative to the plane above me, neither descending nor ascending any further. That should mean that the ascending and descending nodes are exactly halfway in front and behind me and can't get any further effectively. Interesting. Which then begins to make me wonder if there is a point back in time before the ascending or descending node where I can start applying thrust, so the point at which I'm effectively, quote, coming back up again exactly coincides with the point that I touched down on the plane. I am totally babbling. I got a picture in my head and none of you know what I'm talking about at all. So I'm going to stop speculating about that until I can draw out a picture. But I am, however, going to, and I'll do it on the other side. All right. There we go. 1 degree. 1 degree. 87. Apoapsis 104 periapsis. That's fine. I don't mind the apoapsis being further out. In fact, that's a benefit, because if I circularize once I get there, then I'll be nicely far away from Duna that I should be able to warp ahead in time. So F5, warp to this next node. Burn time's 3 minutes to 27 seconds. I want to start a minute and 50, 40, 13 and a half, a minute 13 and a half. And that's fine. And let's do this so that I can stop screwing this up. Let's get on maneuver node now rather than later. So 1 minute 13 and a half. 1 minute 14 will be fine, seeing as I can't measure any finer. Except I clearly didn't hit the right key, but other than that, everything went fine. All right. Create an alarm for 3 minutes, please. Pause when I get there, add the alarm. All right. Going back into looking at the ship to see whether or not we're oscillating. We're not, so let's very slowly ramp up the time warp. Are starting to see the wobble start to build up as the Kraken tries to eat my ship. Yeah, we're going to drop that back down to 3x. Surely close. How are we doing for orbital change? Not half bad. Right. Ascending and descending node are a little bit off. I didn't expect it to be absolutely perfect. But let's just do one more corrective burn here for 2 reasons. Let's see if we can't simultaneously correct for this. 6, 3, 1, something like this. But let's see if we can't also sort of adjust our apoapsis and periapsis. It's not an approach thing we're after. Here we go. So we got 87 and 74. So we're at the side of the orbit, and this is not an efficient burn to do it like this, I don't think. But what we can do, whoops, is we can use the finer version of adjusting these. Yeah, we're gonna have to do that a little bit faster because we kind of screwed that up. When we're on the side of the orbit, we can push into and out of the planet in order to sort of grab the hula hoop and sling it side to side just a little bit to adjust both the periapsis and apoapsis simultaneously. It's probably not as efficient as doing these burns actually at periapsis and apoapsis, but it does mean that we can do both of these adjustments at the same time, which means I only have to do the one burn. And I've got fuel to spare, so we need to do 25-second burn, so that's 12 and a half seconds. Call it 13 seconds beforehand is when we want to start. Oh, let's get on maneuver node, shall we? There we go. 13 and go. Here is our final burn to give us a perfectly circular orbit that's planar with the planetary system and with the solar system. so that our little maneuver node generator can do its work. Did I have to do it that way? No, I could have just gone out into into interplanetary space and just fixed it there, but there we go. Let's check it out. 81 and 80.8, 81.4, 81.8. That's pretty circular. Let's find out if this is good enough. Now, the one reason why this still might not be good enough is because once we create this node, it's going to be far into the future. When it goes into high-speed warp, I don't know if I'm far enough away from Duna to allow it to get to its maximum warp, and the difference between 100,000 times and 10,000 times speed time is, well, a factor of 10, which means instead of taking 5 minutes in order to, get to the future point where we have to do the burn, it would be 50 minutes, and I'm not willing to let all of you wait that long. So if we say I want to go to Kerbal, it calculates that I'm going to be doing it in... so if we create that maneuver, the node is in 1 year. And so if we go to the alarm and say, well, this is all well and good, but how fast can you warp me there? Oh, and it can do it at 100,000 times speed. So I'm good. I don't know if I've ever been out to... I haven't been out to Elu in a very long time, at the very least. Maybe I should make that my next target. What do you think? Obviously, think places like Eve are closer, but Eve's really tough. Like, a lot of the other places I could land, a lot of the moons of Jewel, for example, I think are easier to land on than Duna, although some of them don't have... There is the disadvantage that some of them don't have atmosphere. That atmosphere does help. Eve is fantastic for landing on. It's just miserable to get back out again. You need an enormously powerful ship or a really good space plane to get out of the atmosphere on Eve, because if you're down near ocean level, you've got so much thick atmosphere to go to, it's really hard to get out of orbit. Into orbit, I mean. I've done it before, actually. The last time I did it, I took a very, very big ship with very powerful engines out there, and it was surrounded by liquid tanks with nuclear engines that I would just dispose of. So they acted as my boosters to get to take the journey out there. And then I had this absolutely enormous lander that I actually took off from sea level and managed to get back into orbit. But it was a beast. I mean, landing the thing wasn't hard. It just had a million parachutes. But it was an absolute beast to get up off the surface. And I had to shed almost all of it on the way up. And that was a whole big thing. I may have to do it again sometime on stream, because that was long before I ever started doing any streaming. All right. So we're almost exactly at the point where we have to do this. We have to do this at, actually right now. We have to do this right now, except we're not at the right maneuver node. I wish that left me with a little bit more leeway, but didn't. So we're going to get here and then go. I should have done that at 7:45, but it's not going to matter super a lot, because we're going to have to do a subsequent correction burn anyway. So this isn't the worst possible thing to be a few seconds out. The difference will be negligible. All right. I'm going to create another alarm. This one's going to be for 12 minutes and 45 seconds. Pause it when we get there. Add an alarm. Everybody's feeling pretty good. So the next time I do KSP, though, I'm going to go back to my career mode. Because this was a fun little diversion. I was experimenting with bigger ships when I was off stream in Sandbox mode, and I wanted to do a Duna run just to prove I could still do it. You know, if I just had parts and wanted to build a craft, and I did, but then I wanted to share it with everyone. So this is what I did here. I built the ships. I then brought them into stream. In the last video, I tweaked them a bit, and then I did this run. Once I get back to our home planet, I'm going to leave the bigger ship in orbit. The smaller ship's going to land. I'll bring up a new one. I'll bring up a fuel ship. But I will probably do that in a future stream. This is designed to be at least somewhat reusable, especially the ferry part. And even the other part, the descent module, can be, provided that nobody wants to go back down to the surface, because I don't have a little short-range, you know, single-person shuttle hopper thing to get up to here. I should build one, actually. That's something I could do. I've got a separate fuel ship, which is designed, or being designed, to bring fuel up to this and just refuel it and then head back down. Like, recoverable fuel ship. Mostly recoverable fuel ship. But I should do something similar where the only thing I have to bring up is just a 1 or 3 person capsule to get into orbit, such that this ship can, such that it can rendezvous with this ship and just drop passengers off. Literally a shuttle from the surface. And that way I have all the ships I need to basically keep this thing a viable sort of long-range craft. Visit most of the bodies in the system, I think. Although, like I said, I haven't burned all the way up to Elu yet. I might have to, if that doesn't work, like with using planetary boosts and whatever, I may have to build this thing's bigger cousin. I mean, effectively, it doesn't matter. If this never manages to get back down to the surface. Although what I should have done is build this with docking platforms on the outside of this, outside of the fuel tanks, so that I can bolt on other fuel tanks. You know what? That could be an interesting experiment in and of itself, is to start building a bigger version of this craft, like bolting onto this one in orbit, because you can now do modifications to ships in orbit, and I've never done that. So there's something I can learn how to do. Long serene burns to move the craft around the system, but obviously not super exciting. Well, it is to me. Love the game. So one of the other games that I just picked up that I've sort of playing on my own time is, let me see, what did I just pick up? It's called hang on, just booting up Steam on my other box. It's called Mind Scanners. Saw that Markiplier was playing on it, and he mentioned that it was a lot like Papers, Please, which I saw him play, and I played myself, and it was a fantastic game. I quite enjoyed it. Definitely my style of indie game. A little bit sort of dystopian, a little bit retro. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, Mind Scanners isn't a directly related game, but it has a very, very similar style, and the minute I saw the kind of game it was, I shut down Markiplier's video and decided to play it myself. And so I'll return to see how he fared after I give it a go myself. So let's see where this has gotten to us in terms of our orbit. You can see, I think, really hard to see here, but the orbit has started to extend outward towards, it started to extend inwards towards Kerbal. You can actually see the periapsis here, and it's shrinking. Still got a fair ways to go, but we still got a little burn time to go. Oh, and we're doing it in real time apparently, so let's just bump that up. Are we going to see an intercept point? There it is. Very briefly, anyway. Yeah, Kerbal escape. Okay, so let's go to where Kerbal is right now, which is over here. And if we focus on that and zoom in, that's not what we want. We want this guy. Do we? Where is... All right, let's just tab through it. Sun, Moho, Eve, Gilly, Kerbal. There we go. All right, so let's take a look on the real planet where this orbit is likely to pass by. It's going to pass by within 1 million kilometers. If I apply a bit more thrust, is that shrinking? No. So what we're going to do is we're going to kill this. Okay. We didn't quite get an intercept, it looks like. Or we overshot the intercept somehow. So let's take a look at... This is something we can get out of this. It looks like we kind of overshot it, because you can actually see... And we can do this by measuring the periapsis and apoapsis and whatever and doing a little bit of work. But you can actually see we crossed over here. So if we actually go retrograde here... Actually, no, let's not try to do it from the orbit of Duna. Let's actually escape. That's not where I want to be. I want to be back at our ship. Let's actually, first of all, let's actually escape Duna's influence. So I don't want to deal with the fact that we're in orbit around a different body. Like we're at least 2 stages removed in terms of transfer of, you could say, ownership of the orbit. So now we're in the, quote, ownership of the orbit, if you want to call it. The sphere of influence is the sun and not another planet. And now let's talk about why we are not intercepting. And I think it's because we are skipping inside the bounds of the orbit at about the time that the planet would be there. So let's go to Kerbal. Can we not set that as a target? Curious. I would have thought in interstellar space we could have set that as a target. Huh. Okay. So this is going to get interesting. Let's go retrograde, because I want to actually... No, actually, sorry, prograde, because I want to speed up just a little bit, actually, in order to expand out the periapsis by just a hair. To see if we can reestablish that lock, because I don't seem to be able to set it as a... Why can I not set... So I can set Moho as target. Why can I not set Kerbal as target? Oh. Can I just not do it when I'm close? Oh, that's a terrible interface. Alright. That is not a good interface, guys. I should not have to be at a particular zoom level to select an item as a target. That's just plain silly. Alright, in any case. So now that we have it set as target, let's do this thing where I'm just going to set up a maneuver node right where I am. Because, no, that's not right where I am. That's where I am. Because being at nearly apoapsis is the best place to do this kind of maneuver from a fuel efficiency point of view, where all I really want to do is expand and decrease the periapsis by what could be a largish distance. So looking at that, this is saying how far away the approach is, and I'm not going to move myself forward or backward in time because it should be about the right position to do this, but I am going to see which direction I have to go in order to... Hello? Why are you not adjusting the... Okay. Don't understand that interface. 101,000 kilometers. Well, there it is. If I just if I just increase the oh, now it's finally reacting. Okay, probably because I got close enough to set that up. Okay, so let's keep adjusting this. So here's where it starts tracking. Shrink this down as far as I can get it by just adjusting this, which I can do quite a bit of. There it is. That's the closest I can get, roughly speaking, by just adjusting that. So let's do a few other... The problem is pivoting it here won't make a much difference because the actual target spot that I'm trying to get to is exactly at the opposite side of the solar system, or very nearly, which means that tilting it isn't going to like raise or lower the plane at the other end. It's actually going to tilt it sideways, which is not what I want, because this is the wrong pivot point for the plane, is essentially what I'm saying. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix this burn. And I'm almost exactly on spot anyway, and I only need a 17-second burn time. But in order to do any other tilting and adjusting, I really want to do it sort of part way around the orbit, just like I did when I came out to Duna. Yeah. It's not a big deal. You just got to know, I mean, it seems like I'm making a lot of micro adjustments, but I just had a lot of practice in knowing what is this going to do to my orbit. And if I pivot it here, it's going to tilt along an invisible line, a visible axis that is between me and the sun right now. And that's not great for my destination. It is good for adjusting the distance of the periapsis, but it's not good for adjusting sort of the height above the plane of the periapsis. To do that, I want to adjust it midway around the side. And you just get used to this sort of thing. Oh, and I've lost my tracking in my laptop video. So I make sure I monitor the Twitch channel. Just make sure I don't lose the video. All right. Let's, oh. more or less almost missed that. And actually, you know what? Let's just kill the maneuver node, because I know I'm going in the right direction. So let's just monitor the Kerbal periapsis manually. Oh, that's not what I want to do. It's not the Kerbal periapsis. It's the intercept point. Damn. Dammity damn damn. I've overshot. Okay, that's Kerbal escape. Closest approach is 18 million kilometers. Alright. This is what I want to monitor. And actually I can monitor it here too. There it is. There's the point at which it's not getting any better. So to fix it anymore from here, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to get partway along my return orbit. Cheese. Pay attention. Stop screwing around with other laptops. You know, get it right. Anyway, partway along here. So let me see. I'm here. Where Kerbal is going to be over here at the time that I finally get there. So that's almost in a perfect line. So doing any tilts or any operations there is pointless. But right about here would probably be a good point to do a fix-up maneuver. All right, so that's where I'm going to do the maneuver. Now, instead of watching this location for what it's going to do to the planet, what I really want to do is focus on where Kerbal actually is. So Sun, Moho, Eve, Gilly, Kerbal. Here we go. We're going to zoom in. And now we can see on the real planet where my future orbit is going to be. And look, it's way up in space. This is definitely going to end up being a polar orbit, and that's not good. So I do want to fix this up. So let's watch this as I adjust the orbital parameters. So adjusting back and forth a little bit this way changes the timing of when I arrive, which changes how polar the orbit is. Up and down will cause it to descend a little bit, so I can bring that down until it's planar. Check that out. So at this point, that orbit is nearly planar with the rest of the solar system, which is nice. So I've kind of fixed that. And I'm going to be coming in at 616 meters. So let's make some tweaks to bring that in fairly close, because what I'm going to want to do is again try to use some aero braking to bleed off some of the speed, mostly just for practice. I probably don't need to do this, but 55 is probably a little low, remembering that it's at only 70 where I stop being in the atmosphere. 270, that'll do. How about that? Checking again a look at the plane. It's a little bit out. Like it to be a little bit more. Actually, that's not bad. Just barely see the dotted lines, but that's actually not bad. I'm gonna call that good, actually. So in 181 days, I have to do a burn of only 7 seconds to make this adjustment. So let's do this. Okay, 7 seconds, but let's get on the, let's get aligned with the maneuver node. I should have done this beforehand, but I have enough time. Oh god, no I don't. Okay, but you know what? Because we're in such a wide orbit, let's just get on this now. We're in such a wide orbit that actually making this adjustment now isn't going to be terrible. So, I mean, it has kind of put us super close. Oh, check that out. Kerbal periapsis is fine. So if I cancel that, check this out. Yeah, 97. So the thing is when you've got a stupidly big orbit like that, suddenly the exact timing of the burn in terms of down to the second isn't necessarily all that bad, and the corrective factors are minor. And it turned out that this didn't affect me at all. So I started, 20 seconds late, but I was on an orbit where the, tiny changes are measured in months. So. Point being is it didn't affect me. So, all right. So now what I want to do is I want to actually save the game for one thing, and say warp to somewhere just inside of, actually somewhere out here, just outside, inside of Minimus orbit, because that seems like a pretty good distance. Ooh, it's some big asteroids coming in. All right. So now we're in a position where we have to start thinking, we got to do this whole aero brake thing, just like we did on Duna. Atmosphere's thicker, but otherwise it should be very, very similar procedure, and hopefully we don't blow anything up. So we do have to eventually retract these guys, but let's leave them alone for the moment. Actually, you know what? Let's not leave it alone, because I'm going to forget, and we got quite big batteries on this thing. Okay. Right. So we're going to add a maneuver, and we're going to nudge this inward to try to get Kerbal periapsis better than 90. We're going to get down to, ooh, that's not what we wanted to do, where we went to the exact opposite side of the planet with no effort at all. So what we want to do is we want to get to probably 40, maybe 45. Remember, our objective here, only a burn time of 2 seconds. We're going to do a slow burn to do this. So the objective here is to do just enough to be able to close the loop. We just want to close it from a hyperbolic to an elliptical orbit, so that we get stuck in system. Everything after that is gravy, because then we can take our time. But this is the burn. This is the deceleration that effectively counts. So let's see if we can survive a 45. All right, we're pointed the right way. So what we're going to do now is just apply a little bit of thrust. Watch this shrink. Alright, so we're going to save it there, because we always adjust our way out of this on a second attempt. This is going to take a few attempts, because I don't know the exact arrival speed that I want to be at. But let's try this. Now to do this, we want to sail into about here. Warp here, please. And then we're going to want to go retrograde. Accelerate physics. Let's retract the scanner. Retract that scanner. That one's already been retracted. All right. Close to the planet now. Let it refine pointing retrograde. Here we go. We are in fact descending into the atmosphere, and here's where everything explodes. Oh, Look at that. We got some serious heat issues going on here. The problem is and this is where I may have to redesign this craft, generally speaking. Yeah, there we go. Is that the extremities... Bye. Yeah, it's blowing off the landing legs with the fireworks display. The extremities of my landing module aren't protected by the heat shadow, I guess you could say, of the main ship. What I should do is add additional heat shields on the main ship that sort of create a bigger shadow for everything about this ship, because we keep doing these sorts of maneuvers. I don't think that's going to close up before we pass the crossover. Oh, we might. Come on, close that gap. There we go. On arrow braking alone, we closed the gap. Not by a lot, though. Well, maybe by more than I thought. I'm not too worried about losing the landing legs. I think I need to look at redesigning this. I can stand to have a heavier ferry ship that has more heat shielding and other protective mechanisms. Because it's never meant to land anyway. And I got a fair bit of spare fuel, so... So when we are up and out of, we're just about out into outer space. Okay, so my periapsis didn't actually drop a whole lot, and that's actually a good thing, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it, because nothing really critical exploded. Isn't that sort of the design philosophy of Kerbal Space Program? Nothing critical exploded. Now, I am going to accidentally intercept the moon if I don't make this next step. But what we're going to do is we're just going to fly right back in here. And we're going to go into retrograde again. Maybe. Assuming I have some batteries. Do I have batteries? Come on, I can't be out of batteries already. Oh my god, I don't have any batteries. Okay, I have a little bit of time in order to do this. Oh, except I'm in the dark. Oh, several things about this are not good. Okay. I'm getting any energy flow by extending this. Nope. No, I'm not. This is a new problem. I can generate electric charge by doing that, though. However, I'm going to go normal to the surface. No, actually not normal, radial out. Radial out. Several things about this are not good. How badly did I screw up my... Oh, periapsis is still fine. We're going to go retrograde. It's a little scarier than I'd like because I kind of screwed this up. No, I have no more battery. Oh, that's a problem. Don't think I've broken off anything critical as a result of that screw up, and now I'm properly sending into the atmosphere with some spare electric charge. Oh jeez. Yeah, well, that was scary. Ran out of electric charge. Did I lose anything off the main ship? I don't think so. The main ship's always been pretty well protected. It's just basically the lander ship that's always been a bit problematic. I have no more landing legs. I'm going to be landing on the bell of this thing, which is not fantastic, but... How well did we do? Not terrible, and let's just apply some thrust here. Let's just close this gap. So we do have plenty of fuel. We could just keep doing orbits like this and keep shrinking the apoapsis by aerobraking alone and use nearly no fuel doing it, but once again, just like my Duna arrival, for the sake of time considerations, I'm not going to do that. In any case, when I do this a second time, actually, I will probably, what I will do is implicitly, I'm just going to reset to before I did my Duna mission, probably, because I'll implicitly say this is where I deorbited, got everybody down, and then deorbited the ship, and then recycled everything, and let's just put a new ship up in orbit, because I'm going to consider some redesigns here. Because this isn't a career mode, this was an exploratory build a ship mode. That's got me down to 31 meters there. So we're going to warp up to here. We're going to go into prograde. We are going to fix this periapsis slightly. So I don't want to be quite that far down into the weeds. Alright. Then we're going to zip down to... Oh, wait. Let's solve the I need electric charge problem. Did it actually break off one of my solar panels? Oh, look at that. It did too, didn't it? Oh, well, what do you do? The ship was due for some repair anyway. What happens if I do non-physics time warp here? Is it going to do anything? Oh, it does do something sensible with electric charge. You know, this is something I was talking about with in the last video. Like I said, it would be nice if certain consumables or rechargeables depleted or restored when in non-physics time warp. Apparently it does. So, hats off to the KSP engineering team. You did it right. Can't imagine... You have to imagine you had to make all sorts of assumptions about that, but... Okay, let's get all the way down to there, and we need to get into retrograde, please. Such a pretty game. Just want to get this into orbit and I will call it good. Well, maybe I'll bring my... no, I'm probably going to leave it good. I don't have any fireworks to set off down at KSP now. Although, I suppose, in fairness, it would be nice to get my some of my crew down to the surface, as if we had basically come home from a mission, and some of the ponies and Kerbals would stay upstairs to tend to the main craft, pending getting everybody back together. So, all right, well. How are we doing on solar power? Lots of solar power. Doing a retro burn while we're doing this, just to save us up a little time here. Still have 5,000 units of Delta V. We could practically go out to Duna and back. Easily go out to Duna and back on what I have remaining, I think. Trying to judge this so that I can get the apoapsis down to, you know, like 100 kilometers or so. Where are we at anyway? We're 52 and climbing, so it's not going to come down very much more at this point. No. Now we're going to go radial in. Not radial in. God, no, it is radial in. It is what I want. Because I want to shrink this, but I want to raise this. Again, one of those things where I'm grabbing the hula hoop and sort of turning it, like pulling it along the plane. Not an efficient way to do this, but a good way to do it while I'm got plenty of fuel. That's doing okay. This one's coming up. I'm definitely going to be able to make a circular orbit pretty soon here. Okay, so there we have achieved effectively orbit. We're not going to come back down again. So now what I'm really looking for is just to equalize these two values. And I'm doing this in a terribly inefficient way, but I don't really care. I'm going to accelerate physics a little bit here. All right, so I actually finally swung periapsis out ahead of me, which actually means that I'm actually going to go retrograde here. actually lower my apoapsis to my periapsis, and thus will I have established a circular orbit. I can't use that pointing at the planet hula hoop trick. So, but this is good anyway because now I can just directly affect the apoapsis and circularize everything. Actually, now I'm gonna go radial in again. You know what? That's good enough. I'm picking nits at this point, and the point isn't to circularize this orbit, it's to get this other ship home. So, F5, we're going to say, here we go, we're going to take 3 of our characters home. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to do transfer crew. So Valentina is going to transfer to here temporarily. Rainbow Dash is going to transfer back to here. And then last but not least, we're going to transfer Valentina back to here. And so now what we have is effectively we have all of our ponies in our landing craft. We're going to save it in case everything goes wrong, and our ponies are going to descend for us to make the final report down on the surface, and we're going to have Valentina up here to maintain command of her craft. She's going to take command over from Dash, and Dash is going to take our ponies home. So here we go. Undock. And because I'm eventually going to relaunch the big craft, I'm not going to worry about fiddling with fuel. So I'm going to activate the engine, and what we're going to do is we are going to once again use MechJeb's landing assistant just for the sake of time. Landing assistant. We're going to try to land as close to the KSC pad as we reasonably can, but we know this is going to work poorly. Probably. I've had a lot of luck, but let's find out. Now, we've got a fair bit of monopropellant left. Got lots of charge, I think. Yep. And we've got fuel, and we've got our main engine, but we don't have our landing gear, so hopefully we land somewhere flat. Ideally, let's hope we land on the actual KSP pad. So what am I going to do next time I come back into this? I'm probably going to try to aim for a more distant planet. I'm going to probably try to get more fuel for this thing actively available. I'm going to probably try to add more heat shielding actually on the other craft to provide a bigger shadow for this. Like, I don't want a whole lot of heat shielding on this because it adds a lot of weight. I might do it to protect the underside of the craft if I find it necessary, particularly on the underside of the those fuel sections, although they seem to have done well enough on their own. Target difference has come down to a handful of meters. Let's actually go and check on the surface where it's marked those out. So it's planning on coming down. There we go. That difference isn't bad. It's a little hard to tell in the glare of the planet, but there's a blue and a red marker there. 2 different crosshairs overlapping, and they're more or less on top of one another. Now, that still has to deal with the atmosphere. And we're coming in pretty shallow, which means it's not going to get this right. And in fact, to keep it from screwing around with this forever, we're probably going to just abort the auto land. We're going to go into retrograde so that we're facing backwards once again. Descending pretty quickly down into the atmosphere here. We're coming in pretty high, actually, to be able to land at KSP. So actually, I'm going to do a burn here on my own. If I hit the land at target thing, it says that I'm out by 5,000. No, it's out by 53 kilometers, and it's using a lot of RCS to attempt to do the micro corrections. There's KSP, the KSP Peninsula, right out there, and I probably kind of hosed my my auto land a little bit by coming in a bit sharpish. So I second guessed it and I screwed up. Okay, that's fine. You know what? Let's abort the auto land. Let's point radially out. Let's see if we can't fix this. Now, if we then say land at target... Nope. Nope, I'm going to be landing in the mountains. This was a mistake. This is what happens when I second guess MechJeb. What was I thinking? Oh well, what do you do? Alright, let's abort the auto land again. Let's just time warp down to the surface and let it try to give us a soft landing. Wow, I totally screwed up. I second guessed everything and reactivated things in a bad order. What do you do? Although I am curious about this weirdness. Oh, because these haven't been deployed because they're at the wrong altitude or whatever. Oh god, I cut a chute. That was bad. I'm making all the mistakes today. That's right, because I had the, I had some of the chutes deploy higher up because of Duna, and I never fixed that. Okay. Land anywhere. Just give us a soft landing, huh? Oh, this is terrible. I mean, it's pretty. Don't get me wrong. Alright. Any landing you can walk away from. Oh my god, which I might not be able to do if I'm not careful. Yeah, let's, Can we get my craft to stop rolling, please, with a little bit of... There we go. That was the most inelegant landing ever, but I got all 3 of my ponies down. And if I'd had any brains at all, I would have let MechChub just land my craft in a saner spot to do the recovery, and I would have recovered more bits. But this isn't career mode. I don't have to worry about the money cost of landing these things. And I'm going to relaunch all of these vessels anyway once I've had a time to tweak them. So let's do a recovery. And I still have to work on my refueling and maybe a little micro shuttle in order to completely make this work for me. So let's see. Where are we? I think we're going to call it here for this stream. It was delightful sharing this with anybody. Of course, the video will be up on the YouTube stream before long. Absolutely fantastic. That was ridiculous. And we're going to be trying this again, probably in career mode next time I boot this up, just so I can continue on that process. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see all of you in the next stream.